Hello, this is the video lecture for week 2, discussing the last concepts for day 2, which is getting out of the smaller assignments and on to actually drafting project 1, the document series. We start on understanding concepts and a reminder to review those scenarios again. Looking them over, you've already chosen your scenario for the outline, but now you're reviewing the scenario in depth to think about what we talked about in the last video, purpose, audience, design. You have the purpose here, you have the scenario, you have the audience here for each of your 3 people. What you don't have is the design. You don't have the genre. You don't know if it's going to be an email, a letter, or a memo for whoever. And just because there are 3 choices for genre type does not mean that you have to use one of each. You can mix and match, and maybe Steve and Faith both get the same type of document and the managers get one. It's up, the permutation is up to you. Just because, I just want to make it clear, just because there's 3 choices does not mean I have to use each one and make sure just somebody gets one of each thing. No. You might not use a letter type at all or a memo type at all, depending on which scenario you've chosen, what's the purpose, who is it for. And the scenarios themselves, like they're a little wordy, they're not the best, but they actually happen. They're based off real life scenarios. And when you're in your workplace, scenarios are not going to be necessarily interesting, but they will still require you to think on your feet and to problem solve. So in that way, they're practical and they're helpful. So you review them again, think about PAD. And as you're reviewing the scenarios and the outline you've already crafted, consider the tone in the word choice that you've already utilized in these outlines. I probably already commented on it, but there's, for this class at least, there's 3 different types of tone that I'm going to mention in documents. As I grade them, I'll mention it in lectures, and they all can be useful depending on the document type, audience. But essentially, you just want to hone in on how assertive you can be. You want to use aggressive only when you have to. And in the professional world, you hardly ever have to be aggressive. There are times when passive can work for you. It just depends. But overall, assertive is where you want to be at. There's 2 videos to watch to further explain those types of tone in a professional setting. They're very short videos. I think the first one's like a minute. This one's 2 minutes. There's a website to describe active and passive voice and how they can be useful, that they're not bad per se. And then we get down to documents and common usage. You've thought about the scenarios, the tone, and there's a link that I've also attached to the assignment guidelines to help you out, to help you think through the document type and tips on how you can use it, where it might be used. But this is not an end-all. The readings from the textbook, USF Writes, might say something a little bit different. Or you read the scenarios and you're like, I don't know if this is right for me. These are suggestions to help you think through your choices. Because the grade for creating your rough draft is not just what you say in the document, but ultimately I'm looking at what type of document are you sending for Faith? What type of document are you sending to the managers? What type of document are you sending to Steve? And so on for all the other scenarios, whichever one scenario that you've chosen. I'm going to move on to the assignments for the last part of Module 2. Reminder that there's an optional conference this week. I already went over this in week 1, but there's the sign-up sheet here, has explanation here, and you sign up. And then the Zoom link is on the sign-up sheet, but it's also here if that's easier for you. When we get to you have to create the rough draft you have the outline, and now I actually want to see how you're going to respond to faith. These are just the most prominent ones. These are not, you don't have to use scenario 1. Now I actually want to see not just an outline for your 3 audiences, but the actual document you're going to send. Whatever. And then managers, maybe they get a memo too, I don't know. And then Steve, maybe he gets an email, not sure, So the top of the document is going to be formatted with, did I put that there? No, I didn't. So I mean, I really don't care if this has MLA or APA. I'm looking for the complete contents of your documents. I'm looking to see, did you label and you're telling me who you're addressing? Can I tell that as I'm reading the document? And I'm looking for formatting of each of these, consistent with the readings, consistent with what you've learned in these last 2 weeks. I'm looking for proofreading. I'm not completely counting on it as a rough draft, but a rough draft from my classes does not mean you did most of it or just some of it. It doesn't mean, oh, I did faith in the managers, but I'll do the Steve dude's part for the final because this is a rough draft. No, your grade will reflect your lack of work. For my class, I expect a rough draft to be, oh wow, to be as close as you can get to the finished product, but it's not perfect. And for me, in my mind, a rough draft means you just need to improve upon things based on feedback and probably proofreading. Other than that, it looks pretty much finished. You need to upload this to USF Writes, not to Canvas. This is a stand-in for the grade book, so I can grade it, because USF Writes is not for grades. It's for me offering you feedback on drafts. And you go to, oh Lord, oh often, whatever. You go to projects. You go to draft document series and you submit here. And then via the Likert scale that I showed you in another video lecture, I'm going to give you feedback based on your submission here. And you can, in module 3, you will see my collective feedback later after I've graded the submissions, but we'll get to that in week 3, and that's next week. Furthermore, you upload it to USF Writes, then take the time to copy and paste your stuff. Click to the peer review discussion board. Even though it says week 3, I've opened it up for week 2 because I want you to reply to the forum and at least post your draft, because that's part of the grade. Posting it here on time so that I can assign, so that Canvas will automatically assign you your peers to review for later. But hitting post reply, that's part of your grade, and that allows you access to continue on with the peer review. If you don't post on time, I won't let you do the second part. You're just going to get a 0, and the 0 is going to stand. There's 2 parts to peer review, but we're going to talk about that next week. The first part is getting it turned in by the due date. And the easiest thing is, if you already submitted it to USF Rights, click on over to the peer review draft, copy and paste it, bam, you're done with that first part. Take a breather for a few days from project 1. You have one more thing that you could complete this week for extra credit, and that is taking the content of what you completed and showing a tutor your work to get their feedback as well. You click Smart Thinking Online Tutoring. Takes a while sometimes to upload. It's going to be this really weird page, and you click here to continue. You ask me later. And then there's different ways to submit your writing. Oh wow, this changed a little bit. So you would go to writing for that. So the different ways to submit your writing and interact with the tutor, it's outlined in this handout. I don't care how you interact with the tutor. I just want to know that you did it. And you can do that by screenshotting your interaction with the tutor. So maybe you upload your work with them, or you chat with them directly, or you can also just send them a question. You can say, what's the best way to format a memo? And as soon as you get, a box will pop up on Smart Thinking that says, thank you for submitting to Smart Thinking. Screenshot that, or screenshot your chat with the tutor and upload it here. That's going to give you your 5 points. I don't care if you never talk to the tutor again, or you don't actually look at the response to the question you sent them, or they gave you feedback for your draft that you uploaded. I don't care that you did or didn't look at it. I only care that you uploaded on time by January 24th at 11:59 p.m. and you will get 5 points of extra credit for that proof that you utilize Smart Thinking. And it's extra credit. I don't accept it late. If there was a muddy part of this lesson or of the reading, you can text me or email me.